What's up, guys? Big Clive 34 coming at you with Cars and Clive, the series that you thought died. What happened? Cars and Clive basically was my name for every time I was on camera. It was a Cars and Clive episode, and I noticed it got a little bit sloppy and underdefined. So we're coming back with Cars and Clive. This is going to be the series where I sit here and talk to you. No working on the truck during Cars and Clive. No install videos during Cars and Clive. It's just me, the camera, you guys, and our hot button topics. And today's hot button topic is the Dodge Demon, and why exactly this thing is sitting in limbo in the low 10s and has not reached that 965 that Dodge was promising us. First, I'm going to talk a little bit about why the Dodge Demon is good. I think it's one of the best cars to have come out in the past couple years. And then I'm going to start diving into this pass and dissecting it and giving you guys the juicy info about why exactly this pass has not happened in the real world and what I think is going to happen in the future, and if anybody will ever make that 965 that Dodge promised us the car could do when they released it to the world. We're gonna start slurping on this Demon real quick. I have to dig into why it's the best car in the past couple of years to come out in the racing scene, just to get that out of the way so you guys can know where I stand on this thing as a whole. I don't want to try and give the Demon a bad rap or anything like that, because it definitely does not deserve that. There are two camps, well, three, I guess. Nobody's gonna talk about the guys in the middle though. The lovers and the people who just hate this thing for some reason. The lovers, well, it's a cool car, so that's why we're lovers. And then the haters, well, let me just go out there and make one blanket statement that if you're a fan of drag racing, you should be a fan of the Demon. 100,000 million %, and I'm gonna tell you why. The main argument for people who hate on the Demon is it only runs a 9, or it's supposed to run a 9 and it doesn't. And it's, only this fast, and I could build something for, a tenth of the price that goes that fast. Well, let me just put it to you this way. If you've ever said that about any new car, I could build something that fast for a fraction of the price, you have made a stupid statement in your life. No shit. Everybody knows you could put together a Fox body for, 15 grand, and that's generous, and make it run a good number out there. Nobody cares that you can take a vehicle and build it for 10 grand and have it be the same in a quarter mile as a new car. With a new car, well, what's the difference? Oh yeah, you're getting a whole new car. You're getting new interior, new electronics, a warranty, a brand new shining vehicle with nice wheels and tires on it, and a clean engine bay and everything. And I'm sure you could do that with your old clapped out hoopty, just like I'm gonna try and do with my old clapped out hoopty. But at the end of the day, you're getting a brand new vehicle. Why am I so adamant about the Demon being good for the racing community? And it's not only in what the Demon can do, it's what Dodge built this thing up to be and how they framed it, okay? If you haven't noticed, because you haven't been that close to the racing community, kids aren't really that interesting in racing anymore. And if you love racing, then that's something that should scare you, because I don't know if you realize this or not, but when we get old and start farting out dust, the kids are going to be the ones who continue the racing trend. They're the ones who have the money in the future. And why does that matter? Well, if drag strips aren't getting people coming in the doors, then they don't have any money and they have to shut down, and we don't have anywhere to race. If the aftermarket parts stop getting money, well, it's going to cost them a lot more to make their parts. And guess who gets to pay for that extra cost? That's right, we do as the consumers. Having a car like the Demon that can span the gap between, how we tend to kind of block people out sometimes, which is a bad attitude to have, but we tend to block people out sometimes who don't really know a lot about drag racing. The Demon kind of takes that and nurtures these people who kind of want to be into racing, but aren't really fully into it. And that is why I think the Demon is pretty much the only car in the past, since I've been alive, where I can remember it went out with that one goal and had a company that was brave enough to stand up and create a vehicle like this. But there's always a but. They promised us a 965, and we have yet to see a 965. So what the heck is up with that? Well, now comes the part where I break out a little bit of drag racing experience to help you guys maybe understand why this 965 hasn't happened and why it might never happen or could possibly happen this upcoming fall. It's definitely not going to happen in the summer. I hate to break it to you, but it's just not. So first of all, to the facts. We go to a little website called hellcat.org, which is basically a forum of Mopar enthusiasts, if you couldn't deduce that by the obvious name. And I guess they've evolved from Hellcats, and they started talking about demons. They keep a top list of the fastest demons to ever travel down the quarter mile. And I know it hasn't been that long yet, but as of now, there are only 4 demons. 4, count them. That's 4, right? Yeah, 1, 2. There's only 4 demons in the history of forever to ever crack into the 9s at all. 2 of them are modified. Number 1 on the list is SRT Mush, who has a YouTube channel that's pretty awesome, and if you have a minute, I would recommend checking it out. And then there's one other guy who's in the 9s, and then the 2 factory cars to ever break into the 9s both went a 9.93 at 135 and 136 miles per hour. And none of these cars have the stock tires on them. None of them. The fastest car on stock tires went a 10.23 at 135. I don't know what to say about that. So then I guess that you could take that and say that nobody in a 100% off of the assembly line factory stock demon has ever even ran a 999. And that's kind of a little bit disappointing. Granted that we were supposed to get a 965 at 140 miles per hour out of one of these cars, and I'm going to explain to you where that gap is. And for those of you who aren't really all that into drag racing, from a 965, we'll just round it up to a 97 to be a little bit friendly here, to a 10.2. What did I say? 10.2, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God. 10.23. So 9.65 to basically 10.25 is 6.5, 7.5, 8.5, 9.5, 0.5, 15. That's 0.6 of a second. 0.6 of a second goes by like that, but if you're into drag racing, you know that even gaining a half second is an expensive and timely endeavor to dig into and figure out how to get it. So where is the demon going to find this extra half plus second to find its way to what Dodge claims that the car can do? The things that are notable here about the car that did set that record was that it had all of the interior out, basically. Well, not all the interior. It had the passenger seat and the rear seat out, so it had all the seats out except for the driver's seat, and it was also rocking 100 octane fuel, which I think they advertise being able to do with the Demon Crate and the computer that comes with the Demon Crate, so it is technically a factory performance deal. But yeah, it had a lot of weight out. It probably had very little fuel in it. And the other things to take note of were that the track is a pretty low altitude track, which if you're not into drag racing, lower altitude is better. And then I'm going to mention something called density altitude, which is basically a combination of altitude, temperature, humidity, and some other environmental factors to get you to one number. It kind of gives you a correction factor so that all cars are racing in the same environment and lets you know where you stand based on what the DA is. The higher DA is, the worse conditions are and the slower your pass is going to be. The lower the DA is, when it gets like to negative 2,000, the better your car is going to perform because the air is more dense and it crams its way in your intake manifold. So when they made this pass, the track is at 137.8 altitude in Gainesville, Florida, and for that time of year, I couldn't find an exact temperature. The average low is in the 50s. I assume they tried to get it on a colder night, which would help, so the DA was probably pretty good. I think that's a safe thing to assume. And then you take and add the factor of track prep, which again, if you're not super familiar with racing, they spray a concoction of glue and rubber down on the track to help cars gain traction. And if you watch around, there are plenty of videos out there explaining the lengths that they went through to make sure that the track was prepared perfectly for this demon on this night in these track conditions. So basically, the car that they put out there was a heavenly scenario. What they hit on was every single factor that you need to race in. They had the ability to make sure that it was perfect, from the track conditions to the weather to the car weight to the driver was probably a professional driver, I would assume, and he probably, or she probably didn't weigh very much to take a little bit more weight out of the equation. So all of these perfect things come together in one storm that comes up with a 9.65 second pass at 140 miles per hour. These things are kind of far off at this point, even to the point where that website that I mentioned that was keeping track of the fastest list, hellcat.org, put their putting money into a pot for the first person who can actually go out and achieve what Dodge says the Demon was able to accomplish in stock format. I think they're trying to get together like $1,000 for whoever can do it first. Pretty neat to watch, but the verdict here is, do I think that the Demon will ever go 9.65 at 140 in the real world with a driver who's not a professional or even a professional driver? It's a stretch. I don't think that the majority of Demons are ever going to go that fast. I don't think that even those who try to make them go that fast are going to be going that fast. I think that the 965 is more or less a Hail Mary bomb that maybe somebody will hit once or twice if everything lines up perfectly. I'm not saying it can't be done, because I think somebody will do it, but as of now, it's not going to happen during the summer. Maybe this November, or rolling into December even, on one of these East Coast tracks where the air gets very good and the DA reaches, negative 2,000. Maybe we'll see one of these things make a glory pass, but I don't know. So the other question is, was it responsible for Dodge to do this and put that number out there when realistically the cars are running, mid to low tens, depending on what track you're at and who you're watching race? Well, I don't know. There's two sides to this argument, and one side is, yes, they were good in doing it. Obviously, I'm going to get to that one second, actually, and no, they weren't. So for those who say no, they weren't, it just kind of looks bad if a car never goes 965, which is why I feel like manufacturers will put their horsepower numbers out there, because that's a number that can be manipulated. I'm not saying that anybody's lying, but horsepower, after all, is a made-up number. So there is no checking it, really. If you watch the YouTube comments and pretty much every Demon video I've ever put out, well, that's pretty much what they're all doing. And then on the side of they should have aired more on, the cautious side and maybe run it in a real world situation and release those numbers instead. Well, if they did that, the Demon wouldn't be as cool as it is. And like I said, this thing has done a lot for the world of drag racing and really has set up kind of a situation where more people can get into drag racing, and done that because it's this car that runs middle nines and gets booted out of the track if you make a good pass with it. There's definitely a middle ground there somewhere. Where is this going to go? I'm not sure. I'm rooting for the Demon. Hopefully people will be able to blast past that 9.65 at 140 this fall, but I'm a little bit skeptical of if it'll happen. I love the Demon. I think it's a great car, but I don't know. The 965 might just be a little bit much. So I invite you guys to talk about it in the comments below. Do you think this is going to happen in the real world? What do you think of this number? List off what you think. Let me hear your predictions for the future. I appreciate that, guys, and I also appreciate everyone who took the time to like this video and subscribe. It means a lot. It really keeps me going with these videos, so thank you, guys. I will catch up with you next time. Like I said, Cars and Clive is back. Hopefully we'll talk to each other next Monday at 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Until then, lots of videos on the channel. Go check them out, and now we're going to roll that end card so you can either check out hoodies and t-shirts, or you can check out a video of mine over here. I probably reverse those, or subscribe, which should be somewhere else on the screen. I don't know. Click everything. All right, guys. I'll catch you later. Ugh.